Okay, I'm going to do something new on my channel today. I'm a big action figure collector, and I've seen a lot of people do video reviews on YouTube, and I thought I'd give a crack at it. Today we're looking at the line of Mighty Morphin Power Ranger figures from Bandai, who've, I believe, always had the license for Power Ranger figures, and finally we've gotten the Power Rangers in like a proper adaptation for the current scale and articulation and paint and accessories kind of vibe of today, in like the Marvel Legends style, which I've been a big collector of. So here they are in the boxes, the whole original team, including the Green Ranger, Tommy Oliver, as the sort of late addition to the original 5. So we're going to get into them. The packaging's pretty cool, standard, but each one is specialized for the individual Rangers in the same style, but here you go. We've got Jason the Red Ranger, there's his image there, and then the logo at the top. Flip it around, and you get the basic picture of the Build a Megazord, in which pieces of that come with each one. And then you get the figures of the series that they're from, because these were spread out over several series, and I just waited to collect the whole original team, because that's what I grew up with, being a fan of. So anything after the original Mighty Morphin run, I wasn't that concerned with. So there's the Red Ranger, Jason, and then Zach. Always gotta show Zach. He's from Series 2, which also featured Kimberly, original Pink Ranger, Amy Jo Johnson for life. Same back as Zach, as well as Billy in Series 2, the Blue Ranger. Got to meet David Yost at a convention not long ago. Nice guy, very cool. And same packaging as the other ones, with Series 2 listed at the bottom. There's Trini, the most recent edition. She's come out. Toy Trang, rest in peace. There she is from Series 3, which also has the White Ranger, which I've contemplated getting, but I already have Tommy as the green, and these things don't come exactly cheap these days. But speaking of Tommy, here he is, Green Ranger. There he is, blowing on the Dragon Dagger, as he was so often to do. And there's, again, Series 1, which he came out with Jason. So there you go. He has the same packaging as the rest. There they are. Now, let's crack these bad boys open. Alright, so I didn't mention, because I didn't notice, in the inside packaging there's also this background of the classic Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Lightning Bolt logo. So that's pretty cool. And then here they are in the inner packaging. Just in their poses, mostly simple poses, not too dynamic, but cool all the same. You can see all their accessories, and for the most part the original 5 have the same basic accessories. They have their blaster and a holster for it, and they have their build-a-figure piece to build a Megazord. They're not all Zord specific, though mostly are. It's just Kimberly kind of, she has their limb specific. Their limbs, because that's how you build a figure. So she has a Mastodon piece, because her Zord is obviously part of the torso of the Megazord already, which comes with Jason, but Trini comes with her Zord leg, as does Billy, and he has one Mastodon arm, she has the other. Tommy really gets the best accessories of the bunch. It's clear. I've heard it's because, you know, budget, oh well, we make an extra figure that doesn't have a Build-A-Figure piece, and they get the extra accessory. So he has a set of interchangeable hands, he's got his Dragon Dagger and a sheath for it, and he's got the sword that he used initially when he was evil. So that's very cool. One of my big complaints about this line is that the main Rangers don't come with their individual character-specific weapons. It seems like a real oversight, and honestly, if it was budget, I'd rather they got their signature weapons than a Megazord piece. You're building a Megazord who's approximately in the same scale as them. Well, not in the same scale as them, because then he'd be huge, but he's about the same size as these figures that represent humans. and whoop-de-doo, right? So you get a Megazord in the end, but he's a small Megazord, and they have Megazords that are larger available for sale. So if I wanted a Megazord, I would just buy one of those, and I'd rather them get their classic weapons and have them be able to form up into that classic extra special weapon. Alright, so now I'm going to take them out so we can look at them in more detail. Okay, and here they are, the whole team, out of their packaging. So you can see how they look all nicely in a row. Nice sculpts all around, and paint. They really do capture the likenesses of the whole team very well. As far as figures, basic aesthetics go, they really nailed it. They look just like the Rangers as you'd expect. There's even really cool detail. Try to get in if you can see there. On the belts, they have their power morphers with the coins, and they're actually sculpted. So you can kind of see the T-Rex in there, for example, with Jason. And that's very impressive because they didn't need to go that extra mile, but they did. So that's cool. Let's quickly show off some of their articulation. As I mentioned, it's very reminiscent of the classic Marvel Legends that, well, it's become a modern classic. So you got the ball shoulders, kind of ball head, side to side waist, ab, crunch, got double knees, got ankles kind of pivot, side to side and up and down, and yeah, so it's full of articulation. You can get in a lot of cool dynamic action ninja ranger poses, so that's very cool. One thing I will say is it's pretty loose, pretty loosey-goosey, so maintaining poses, not sure how much they get in that area. It varies per figure, but mostly they're pretty okay with the keeping poses, but it does feel very loose. One thing I will say that's pretty cool is while maybe the male Rangers share a body because it's easy to save on expenses that way, though Tommy does of course have certain little embellishments on his arms, those little buckles and his little shield thing he always wore. One cool thing is Trini actually looks female. As many people know, the original Yellow Ranger in the Japanese footage that the show borrowed from was played by a male actor, but while she doesn't have the skirt keeping with the authentic look, you know, that Kimberly did have, so I'm glad they didn't just tack on a skirt. She clearly has a slender and obviously female body type, so that's nice. So overall, the look of the figures is pretty good. The articulation is pretty good, and so yeah, you can get a lot of cool Ranger-specific poses. And I've put on their little blaster holsters, and they all go in very easy. The holsters fit nice and the blasters fit nice and snug in the holsters, and the holsters attach via a simple hole and peg in the waists of each Ranger. Though Tommy's is a little different, but it's the same basic peg. He just has a longer holster for the Dragon Dagger. So there they are as a team. Good articulation, good sculpt, good paint. And so let's check out the Megazord Build-A-Figure. Okay, and here we have the Megazord fully built. He's pretty cool in look and feel, and you know, he's got basic articulation too. Up and down, you can twist his fists. These little mastodon things go up and down, though I will mention, as I removed them from the packaging, they came off very easily, popped out. They're just held in with little sort of plugs, little notches in these gray parts here. Went back in fairly easily. Also the leg pieces, these upper gray pieces that are attached with ball joints to the lower Zord parts came out pretty easily, but again, reattached easily. But it's almost funny to think that the big sturdy Zord combination was actually a little more fragile than the actual Ranger figures. But he's cool. Here he is in the back, and you see all the detail there. The heads of the two bottom Zords move. And yeah, so he's pretty cool. Again, I would have preferred if they needed to spare the budget, give the Rangers their signature weapons so they can have those fights and not just do ninja and blaster moves. But he's cool. He'd be even cooler if, you know, being in the same basic size range of the Rangers. Here you can see Jason. Let's get him standing at full size to see a comparison. So, you know, slightly taller than a Ranger figure, but that's appropriate because he's a huge Zord. So, one area where it maybe would be appropriate to have a Zord, Megazord in this size range would be if they had the villains in the basic same scale as the Rangers, because then you could have them fight them on the ground, and then after Rita it goes, make my monster grow, then you could use the same figure to fight the Megazord. So you get the on the ground fight with the Rangers, switch it over to the big, massive final battle with the Megazord. So that's an area that would be kind of cool, but so far they've only released Rangers. So, of course, you're going to get the Rangers first, but they're spreading it out over the history, 20-plus years, of the Power Rangers. So, hopefully Bandai will start making some villains, at least give us Goldar, who just got a recent push, albeit in a very different form in the recent Power Rangers movie. But hopefully we'll get some villains very soon. Before we move on, one quick thing I did forget to mention with the Megazord. As with the Rangers, he can fight, you know, with his fists and legs and stuff, but he too is missing his classic sword. So, you know, that final blow that he always gave the oversized villains, you're gonna have to imagine that some other way. There's really only one way to get it, or to have gotten it, and that was to have gotten the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Red Ranger, who had like sort of a pearlescent finish, and he actually did, unlike this one with the solid paint, he came with his own Red Ranger sword, as well as the sword for this eventual Build-A-Figure Megazord. So, unless you got that when it first came out, you're gonna have to pay an arm and a leg for it. Probably San Diego exclusives, or any kind of exclusives, especially after the fact on the second-hand market, are going to be a bit costly. So that kind of stinks too, as with the regular Power Ranger weapons. Okay, now going back to the issue of scale, here I have the Red Ranger alongside some basic 6-inch scale lines of different sizes and proportions. Obviously Luke is the smallest one here, and we all know Luke was a little short for a stormtrooper, so that's why he looks a little small. And the others are based on, you know, depictions of comic book superheroes and cartoons and big bulky strong men with exaggerated proportions and musculatures. Captain America, Superman, and obviously He-Man being the biggest example. But if you see still, the Red Ranger is about the same size as Captain America, maybe even with the helmet slightly taller, way bigger than Luke Skywalker, who looks puny by comparison to all these big muscle men. And, you know, He-Man's bigger in, you know, his definition, his chest and all his musculature, which was characteristic of He-Man, but still about the same height. And we gotta remember, this is a teenager, you know, a toned, athletic teenager, but all the same a teenager. So one of my other problems with this line is it's a little overscaled. From what I understand, they consider it 6.5-inch scale, and I don't know who else makes a line like that. There's 6-inch figures of the usual superhero lines and the Star Wars Black series and things like that. Then there's 7-inch for NECA and McFarlane and stuff, where they do the lifelike portrayals of things from different live-action media and video games and things like that. 6.5 just doesn't fit anywhere. They're a little big to my liking. Those figure arts Power Rangers might be more appropriate, but, you know, those things are super expensive from the start, and then even more super expensive on the second-hand market, and pretty much impossible to find. Of course, they come with their accessories too, their proper weapons, but these are mass retail figures, and $20 standard kind of going rate today, so they're a little more acceptable, easy to get. So that's how I was able to pick up this whole team over the waves they came out. So again, Another drawback I consider slightly oversized. Okay, just to have a little fun with these, brought out one of my other lines I've been liking lately. Diamonds Like Kermit, see him in scale. Hey, Tommy, you know it's not that easy being green. Yeah, tell me about it, especially when it means that you are manipulated by an evil sorceress to fight your friends. Alright, to finish it up, I just want to show off the figures in a few different poses, just to give you a feel for them. So just check out some of these cool pictures. So there you have it, the full original team of Rangers. Of course, though, since they're wearing their helmets, if you prefer, some of them could be the secondary ones that swapped out after the various characters left and actors left the show, aside from Tommy and Billy, who I believe were the only ones to wear those outfits for the Blue and Green Rangers. But overall, I'd say I'm pretty satisfied with them. Otherwise, the issues I mentioned with oversize and lack of their signature weapons, but otherwise they're pretty cool. They look good. They get in dynamic poses. The colors really shine. They're great representations of the original Mighty Morphin team, and I'm happy to add them to my collection if you want. They should be available still at retailers, though the first two series might be a little harder to find. I know the Pink Ranger's still pretty easy to find, but come on, moms and dads, give your girls a little role model, Kimberly or Kat if you prefer. You know, pick her up. She shouldn't be straggling. You know, let's show them that girl figures can sell just as well as boys. So they're still out there with Series 3 with Trini and the White Ranger of Tommy, still most recent, but otherwise you can probably find them on retailers online, Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, things like that. So if you like it and you're a fan of the classic Power Rangers, pick them up. I recommend them. Probably say about 3.5 out of 5 stars if we want to do a rating, or maybe Thunderbolts for the Power Rangers. So overall, very satisfied, but points off for the lack of weapons and the oversizing. If you like this video, I'll ask you, just like every other YouTube person, to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. You know, I do a lot of different types of videos on here. This is the first figure review, but if you like it enough, maybe I'll do more. Until next time, may the power protect you.